Yeah. What it do, y'all? This your boy King Ed the Great, and you're now tuned in to the Livest Hip Hop Show on Friday nights, Off the Cuff Radio, sponsored by Buddy Boy Entertainment and soon to be Screwball Radio, alongside sponsored by Core Financial, where you got to step your finance game up and get your credit in order, and Jesse's Boutiques for all you ladies out there that want to stay sexy even during COVID. And I got my man T Max with the facts in the building, my co-host.
What it do is OTC up in the building, place to be, live and direct. Shout out to our co-host in spirit, a lot of Sandman, Lady Chinchilla, so Trilla Illa. We are here, King. We here again.
That's right. We had a little technical difficulty in the beginning, but we was like, you know what? We're going to get this thing right either way.
Yep.
So,
man.
Tonight's going to be a special episode, man, because what's crazy was how I connected with this cat was I read about what he tweeted about. I posted it. I did my little commentary on my video. He seen the video and reached back out to me, so that made me feel like, okay, I'm about to be a star. You know what I'm saying? So we chopped it up, and I started listening to some of the music that he had, and I'm like, man, I'm liking this guy here. I like what he's bringing to the table. It's originality. He's representing the East Coast. And on top of that, he gives a lot of great insight on what's going on with this game. So put some respect on his name for giving us respect. Let's bring on our guest of the night, Mr. Chimp 1, y'all.
Yo, what's good?
What's going on, man? Glad to have you.
What's happening, man?
Oh, man, everything is good, man. I appreciate y'all having me on the show, man. I really appreciate that, man. That's love right there.
Definitely. Yeah, man. Look, King would bless us with a couple of the audio, the intro, to open up. And look, you had me a believer after I heard you flip that Angela Winbush Treat You Right sample, man. I was like, yeah, buddy.
Yeah, man. Yeah. That's the classic right there. That's the classic, man. You got to come right. When you sample stuff like that, you got to touch it right, man. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, man. So, like I said, it's great that we're honored, we're humbled, we're privileged to have you on, man. Tell us a little bit about yourself and, your journey from, the seed to, grown man and evolution and your love with hip-hop and how it all started.
Well, yeah, man. I grew up down south, man. I grew up in Miami. And
305,
I was born in
okay.
305, yeah, man. I was, growing up, man, I was really inspired by a lot of funk records, growing up as a kid, my pops had the ill record collection. All his records was like Barry White, Love Unlimited. So I always used to take those records, fuck them up, get in trouble, bumping them shit as a kid. And I was always used to read the production credits on it, and I would see like, damn, Barry White did all this, orchestra, the whole thing. That's what really got me noticing, like, producing. But what really got me into like hip hop though was I gotta give it up for the West Coast, man. I gotta give it up to Dre and Snoop, man. Watching that Dre Day video on the box, you know what I'm saying? Walking in as a kid, seeing that shit, like, yo, what is this, yo? That's what really brought my attention to hip hop, And as far as producing goes, man, I feel like it's hard when you're coming up as an MC, you know what I'm saying? You don't got money to cop tracks and, holler at other producers. So I felt like that was something that I had to bring to the table. And with help with Charles Hamilton, I learned a lot about producing and mixing and, trying to be independent in the game, how to move in the game. The game is cutthroat. So it's better that you're very hands-on with how you do things of that nature.
Definitely. And, one thing about a champ is when, like you said, just getting into the game, man, it's treacherous because, especially being a new artist, like anybody, you're trying to find your voice in it. You're trying to really find how you fit in. And, just learning and, learning the business aspect is one thing, but also to learn from people who are willing to help you genuinely. That's a rarity, man. Charles, Charles, we know about him, of course, kicked it, with a Brooklyn girl, you know, had made his rounds on the game for a minute. You know, how's he been these days? You know, he's been kind of quiet. We haven't heard from him. Everything been all right with him?
Yeah, everything is good, man. You know, he's just in his zone, making music. You know, we're the type of artists, man, where, you know, we're not chasing fame and you know, cash and stuff like that. You know, we do it for the love of the music. You know, if God forbid anything happens tomorrow, I lose it all, I would still be happy making my music. That's what makes me happy. That's what makes us happy. You know what I'm saying? Like, we just love indulging and making music and just coming from a very heartfelt place. One of the things about both of us is that we don't write. You know, we freestyle everything we do, and that's to pour the energy that we have at that moment on the track. You know, by the time we were to write it down, by the time we write everything down and record it, that feeling is not there anymore. So we like to do things more in a conversational way, you know what I'm saying? So we could get that vibe going and you could feel where we was coming from at that time.
Definitely.
Now, do you feel that Charles is basically underappreciated because he came out around a time where the game was going through a lot of changes, like in the mid 2000s, where people were just like party rapper. Basically, he was one of the first guys I seen really incorporating video games into the music like that.
Yeah. Charles was very ahead of his time. He's one of the first rappers to be a blog rapper. A lot of the things that our kids are doing now, like the whole Trippie Redd, I'm a goth movement, he was doing that in his music. But the thing is with Charles is that he was too ahead of his time. And the things that he did in 2008 is what people are doing now, you know. And that was kind of like the things that I think that the label couldn't see is they didn't know how to market him the right way. It was a lot of copy and paste during that era. And also you got to understand that when he came in the game, like in 2008, 2009, the game was shifting. We were just starting to little by little go into streaming and Apple and iTunes. So CD sales were at an all-time low. The game was shifted. By 2010, the game had did a little shift. If you really look at hip-hop, you could notice that at 2010, 2011, the game shifted. And, you know, now that we're in the struggle where it was streaming services and social media, you know, we didn't have really a lot of that back then. You know, it was kind of up and coming, you know, with the MySpaces and all that other stuff. But definitely very underappreciated. Definitely.
Yeah, man. It's wild, Champ, because when we think about it back in the day, because King will tell you this, I have like every Source magazine since 1994, literally. So it's like to watch, you know, and XXL too. So between those publications, I watched, you know, like you said, you know, how as well as their publication was evolving. Like you said, in 2008, you know, to 2010, how we started seeing, you know, the internet shift and how a lot of those artists like Azalea Hayes, you know, Angel Hayes, you know, of course, Charles Hamilton, so many during that time were beginning to really, you know, Soulja Boy, of course, you know, we got to get props to Soulja Boy. You know, he was really the one who started using the internet in a capacity to really market himself, you know, which was laid a blueprint for a lot of artists to follow behind. And to listen to what you were saying about the recording process, about you and Charles would do it, you know, it seems very organic and very fluid how y'all would do it in terms of letting the spontaneous nature of freestyle lay the template for the type of music and whatnot, and that energy. You know, you really carried a very welcome essence of throwback to that 90s era, you know, of just skills, you know,
Thank you.
Doesn't need all, you know, it doesn't need a lot of fanfare and the levels of, you know, a lot of, you know, dress up. It's just stripped down raw hip hop in terms of just really expressing yourself, and that's what this game is all about, man. I mean, from where
I agree.
Yeah, go ahead, please.
Nah, I mean, I agree, man. I feel like that's what the game's definitely been missing, man. It's like everyone is just playing follow the leader, and you got the whole social media thing, which is a good thing, but it could be a bad thing. It's like the yin and the yang, you know. It could be beneficial to you, or it could break you in a day, you know. So it's a gift and a curse with that. But I feel like artists now just got to be more true to themselves, you know what I'm saying? They got to stop letting these labels take advantage of them. They have the following. They do the videos on their own. They're putting out the music on their own. It's like building a house, and then the label people come over, and it's like, here, you can have my property. I don't feel it's a necessity anymore to sign to these labels anymore. I feel like you could do it on your own. You could follow the Master P blueprint, but through the streaming services, you could put out your own music. You can put out your own music videos and have your career in your own hands. You're placing your destiny in your own hands. You don't got to go to these labels anymore. It's just ridiculous, especially how they treat the artists now.
Yeah, and it's crazy. And not necessarily, speaking from with you, being a younger cat, but also too, being so well versed. You know how it was in terms of studying what it was like. We're older, and it's like we remember the time, coming up. It was like to get a deal is everything. It was like that was like you really arrived, and like you said, it's changed now to where the marketing, the outlets, it's not, imperative that you sign, because there's so many other outlets. But what do you think happens with a lot of artists in terms of, from what you've observed with your contemporaries in these years, just how it's changed in reference to, because a lot of artists like to, where's the difference where you've seen from your experience artists that legitimately have those real fans and the artists that don't, and then deep down really are relying on that label to give them the push that they may not have?
Well, I feel like every great musician will be tested. And I also feel like what happens with these new artists that sign to these labels is the labels, soaking them like a sponge, you know what I'm saying? They're not letting the artists grow organically. They're rushing through the hype of the artist. Let's get them in, let's get them out. And, right now these artists are just becoming tax write-offs to this point. We got a lot of you could probably name in 5 hands artists that dropped in the last 10 years and who's going to stay in the future. Like, these artists are all coming and going. They're here one week, the song is gone tomorrow. And it's just crazy, man. But you got these people, man, that they don't look at the game how we look at it, you know what I'm saying? Well, you could be hands-on with it. You still got these people that have that same mentality and they want to put their destiny in other people's hands. I just don't understand that, bro. Like, you could be doing all of this on your own, learning the game, and it will be beneficial to you in the future, because ownership is a very important thing. And you got a lot of artists that are down to sign that 6 albums for $1 million, but that $1 million is going to be gone in 3-4 months when you're working on that album and you're buying your mom's a crib and you're trying to fix your credit up and recording costs, et cetera, et cetera. You know how the game goes. It's cutthroat. It'll chew you up and swallow you out, man.
Yeah, and I think another thing too that's happening is a lot of artists lose their mystique, and then they feel that they have to pretty much expose themselves more and more because they want to relate to the crowd, relate to the audience. But at the same time, when we want to listen to music, we want to hear the mystique on what your thoughts were on these type of events. So when rappers play on to the meme crowd, that's why I feel a lot of them lose. Yeah, definitely. And the production right now that's out there is so stale, man. You got rap. This is one thing I've noticed about the game now. The same instrumentals are being used on hip hop, Spanish music, rock music. Like, everything is the same fucking beat, man. Everybody's using the same equipment. Everybody's got the same sound right now. Ain't nobody has a different sound. And that's what the game always needed. Like, everybody was always fresh. You know what I'm saying? Like, Death Row, fresh. Bad Boy sound, fresh. No Limit when they came out, fresh. G-Unit when they came out, fresh. Everybody was fresh. Everybody had a new sound. Things that are going to win are things that are new, that people have never heard, people don't see. These things that are going on right now is just copy and paste. Let's just do what he did because he's hot. Let's do this song because they did that and that's hot. That's what's working right now. People are scared to take a chance and be different. And it's okay to be different, man.
And that's real, because when we look at it in terms of the skippity type tracks, the same rudimentary rotations of the 1-2, the dusty drum snares and all that, as you said, it's not really anything that's inventing, and this is no shade to any of those artists that came from that era of the 2000, the mid 2000s, where they called the snap rap. Like when you had the GS Boys, Franchise Boys, Shop Boys, you had Jackie O. There were just so many artists, Tay Dizzum. You had a lot of them that came through that era, but unfortunately, it was just music of that era, but it wasn't anything that was actually going to, we just saw long term how a lot of them didn't prepare going for the long haul with it. And, one thing about it is coming into the business, you have to know how to make sure that you make things that actually, to make music that actually is going to transcend. We look at who dropped albums during, we look at, artists who dropped albums during that time. Of course, 2007, I believe, T.I. dropped King. Jeezy dropped, 101 back in 2005.
But you got look how they were winning, though, because look, they ended up switching the sound. Even though a lot of people hated on that snap ATL era, like in 2006 or 7, the reason why they were winning is because prior to that, what was the sound before that? It was Neptune's, East Coast, club-driven type of music. So people just ended up finding another sound and running with it, and that's why they ended up winning, because it was different, though. As much as people don't like it and people want to hate on that snap sound, it was different for that era, because we were so used to hardcore beats, everybody doing the same type of, gangster shit, and then they came in with the, hey, let's just have a good time type of feel, type of vibe, and that's what they ended up kept winning. I think that's why the South has been holding it on for so damn long, because they just know how to keep that. They know how to keep their sound, but they know how to keep going into the future with it, like changing it up.
Yeah, and I mean, of course, we can't forget.
It's the balance. It showcased that balance. Yeah, it showcased that balance of fun, because at the end of the day, music was based off party music, and especially around that time period where the world was changing, and people want to just, let their head down and have a good time.
Yeah. You just got to keep going, keep being different. I mean, look at Dre. When Dre was with Death Row, it was pure G-Funk, Parliament, Funkadelic type of samples. But when he left and he did the 2001 album, it was way different. Like, he's not really doing no Parliament, Funkadelic type shit. He's on some other shit. And I think that's why that album lasted the test of time. That's why 25 years later, we're still like, whoa, this album is crazy still,
And the thing about it, Champ, is when Dre came into, when Dre pretty much left Death Row, and on Off the Cuff, we don't speak to shade anybody or try to, disrespect anyone or talk about things, and this has always been a subject of conversation about Dre in terms of, music in reference to, has he always produced, or did he have his interns produce for him? But whether he did the music or whether he had people do it for him, one thing about it is Dre had a great infrastructure with himself and people that he brought in. Mike Elizondo and all of them that really, brought about a lot of dope musical stuff to the forefront. It really helped him reinvent his sound.
Well, that's true. But I always tell people that there's a difference between a beat maker and a producer. You know what I'm saying? A beat maker could make a L beat, but a producer takes that shit to the next fucking level. And Dr. Dre, Puff Daddy, even Kanye West, I like to, you could put him in that bracket, you know what I'm saying? I'm not too really thrilled about what Kanye's doing right now, but just using him as an example. But I'm using him as an example, but there's a big difference between beat makers and producers, you know what I'm saying? Producers create products, and beat makers, they make music, but producers elevate that shit. And, I heard some things about Dre too, man, but you got to give Dre his props, man, because he elevates music, man. He elevates music, man.
And you know what's cool? And you know what's crazy is this, man, and this is how we actually, correlating with this topic here with Dr. Dre. And this is how we actually got introduced. Well, when you made that tweet about Warren G and, Def Jam not owning him. Now, what prompted you to mention that? Like, give the story behind that.
as a fan, bro, I was reading about it. I saw the video on World Star, and as a fan of Warren G and the whole G-Funk era, man, it literally broke my heart, bro. Like, yo, are you serious right now? Like, if you know the story, you know that he saved the label, bro. Like, that label was about to be defunct. They wasn't selling what they were selling, what they did in the 80s. Warren G took that shit back to where it was supposed to be at, bro. I feel like he should be rewarded for that. He should have his masses. But I also like to say that goes to show you that regulate, the power of regulate. Like, that shit is hip-hop treasure, bro. And Def Jam, they doing some cutthroat shit trying to, like, not give up the masses, bro. I'm not feeling that shit, bro. Like, real talk, you know? I think that man should be rewarded his music. He saved y'all.
Yeah. You know,
and that album, that Regulate album was everywhere, especially in '94 when it was on the Above the Rim soundtrack.
Bro, a lot of people forget that the top rappers in '94 were Biggie, Method Man, and Warren G. Everybody had that. Those are the top 3 cassettes you have to have in '94. Those 3 tapes. Am I lying or not?
No, you're absolutely right. And when you look at it, you know, because nobody knew Warren G, you know, when they did the Above the Rim soundtrack that was released in early 1994, I mean, I'll tell you one thing, for me and King, that's still in our top 5 of hip-hop soundtracks ever. Arguably, that's the greatest hip-hop soundtrack ever. I mean, you know...
that and Murder was the case. Murder was the case. Is up there, too, bro.
Yeah. My personal... Because we, on Off the Cuff, we just go all over. We be calling audibles on whatever we talk about. My top 5, personally, of hip-hop soundtracks, in no particular order, has to be Above the Rim, Menace to Society, let's see, Boys in the Hood. You can't, you could even, like you said, Murder was the Juice.
Got to put the Juice soundtrack up there.
Juice, definitely. Juice is in there, too.
Definitely. Don't Be a Menace is up there too. That wasn't a bad soundtrack.
Yeah, man. Look, that Wu-Tang just was all over that joint. Whoa.
Yeah, that Winter Wars, bro. That's that shit right there, bro.
Look, Winter Wars. They did the Wu-Tang Garment Renaissance. You know, Full Metal Rap Jacket. Daggone, and we can't.
You know, we gotta put the Friday soundtrack. The Friday soundtrack too, bro.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. Man,
and I gotta put the Players Club soundtrack too. I was hearing that shit the other day because they don't got it on the streaming. I had to go on YouTube and look it up, and I was like, damn, I forgot about this shit. Soundtrack is hard, yo.
Damn. Dog, thank you for saying that, because that's a perfect segue in terms of marketing, because we're going to get back to some of this stuff. What you said about Players Club is not on streaming anymore, and me and King talk about this on the air and off the air all the time. How important is it for physical copies of records to still exist? Because I have my copy of Players Club on
I got mine on cassette.
Yeah, but we know with a lot of the copyrights, we know how music goes. So we're going to get back to the Def Jam thing and Warren G in a minute. But how important is it? Because the way the marketing has changed now, everybody's trying to say that physical copies of albums are not necessary. And me and King were talking about this one night off the air about how when you're dealing with these copyrights, you know, the intellectual property of the artist or the label, and how a lot of these albums fall through the cracks in the context of, you know, they're not available anymore, to the point that you can't even find them online.
Yeah. Well, a lot of those soundtracks, you got to understand that a lot of those executive producers on those soundtracks are also the directors of those movies. So you got to get them to sign off on that also. You know, you got to get a lot of people to sign off on those soundtracks. Yeah. A lot of those movie directors, they play a big part. You know what I'm saying? I think John Singleton, if I'm not mistaken, he's the executive producer Baby Boy soundtrack. If I'm not mistaken on that.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And check this out. How about those? And check this out, guys. How about those movies that were terrible but had the dopest soundtracks, like Bulworth?
Ooh. Yeah.
True. I'm not gonna say the terrible movie, but we forgot to say it. I got the hookup soundtrack. That wasn't bad either.
Yeah. And it's crazy, man, because, you know, back in the day, I think that's what's also another culture that a lot of the youngins today are missing too. When a movie had a soundtrack behind it, like, no matter what it was, like, one of my favorite soundtracks is the Bill and Ted Bogus Journey, because they have some great metal songs up there, great rock songs. And it's like, but to see a soundtrack and to see the video actually accompanying, like, for the movie, like Last Action Hero, where Megadeth did Angry Again and AC/DC did Big Gun, you know, I mean, it's like you're really getting excited in terms of, like, just seeing it and hearing the songs play, and it's like it's just little things like that I miss. It's like the whole marketing has changed now. Yeah.
Yeah, they taking away the fun, you know what I'm saying? Like, they trying to get, you know what it is though too, man, that Napster and all that downloading shit fucked the game up so bad that the labels now are just like getting revenge on us. You know, they're taking away all the good shit that we really used to love about the music, you know? That's why these albums last a day, 2 days, you're done hearing it, because you're not getting the same energy you had before when you would open up the package, look at the CD booklet, oh, look who produced this, who mixed this, where was this recorded, looking at the thank yous. We don't even get that anymore. Do they even still make thank yous for albums? I don't even think they even do that shit no more.
They do. It's the new hashtag now. They doing hashtags. They doing the
right?
They at each other now.
It's ridiculous, bro. It's ridiculous. And they taking away the fun from the game, man.
Yeah, and I think a lot of
another problem too. Yeah, another problem too. Hey, T-Maz, I didn't mean to cut you off on here, but this is another problem I noticed too with streaming. Now I was sitting there, I was listening to the 400 Degrees, and come to find out there was like 2 songs missing. So I'm like, hold on. Come on now, y'all messing up my flow here.
Yeah, that could be sample issues. Most of the time, that's sample issues, and they couldn't get the record clear, so it gets muted on the streaming service.
Man,
that's why we gotta have those hard copies.
I'm gonna tell y'all something too, man. Because there's another album. Oh, go ahead. Now I'll talk. Go ahead.
I feel like saying I feel like they could still keep the booklet stuff alive. You know what I'm saying, through the streaming service. They could just do it like, you know, over you click on the album artwork and then have the thank yous or something at least some kind of booklet or something that gives us the autobiography about the album, instead of just giving us a button to push just to hear a song. That's what takes the whole excitement away.
Yeah. And I'm gonna tell y'all too. If people think it's a joke about how albums be getting phased out, one of the greatest ever to do it, one of the all-time legends of the game. I'm not gonna say how much I paid for it, but I didn't have to whack anybody to do it. But Jay-Z's "Reasonable Doubt." I was just on eBay for Academics the other day, and to get the cassette of it on the reissue is $300. I didn't even see the CD online. Now I got it. I'd already had it on cassette. I got it years ago, but I decided to get the CD simply because the cassettes, obviously, because of durability. But not only did I manage to stumble across the CD, I actually stumbled across the first press of it from 1996, which is like rare now.
Definitely.
But that's a pop treasure. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, but it's like even with Jay's "Reasonable Doubt," you can't even find that in stores now hardly. I mean, Jay is a legend, and you're gonna tell me you can't find Jigga's first album anywhere? I'm like, what's going on around here?
Well, you gotta understand that Jay doesn't own the masters to that. That's between Jay, Dame, and Big. A lot of people think that Jay-Z owns that, but he doesn't. He has everything from Volume 1 to what he's done now in his possession, but that "Reasonable Doubt," I think he owns 1/3 of that.
Well,
I think Dame has that.
Well, what happened?
Dame might have that in a chokehold.
Yeah. Well, we can talk about Dame has that in a chokehold. Yeah, we can talk about this on the air because this is something that has already been spoken on anyway publicly. Because this goes back, because because this is a perfect. Oh man, the energy is great in terms of the segue. We completing passes like Brady, or Dad going like Manning to Victor to David Tyree. So basically, what happened was this was the issue because this ties right back into Def Jam. This was the issue that Jay had with Dane as the story went, because Reasonable Doubt was the one album that they all, like you said, did together. And because they all financed it together. This is when they were still coming fresh off the block and they were, going legit. And Jay and Dane had a bit of a disagreement about the status of it, because Jay even said it in an interview with Double XL. He was like, the album didn't sell a lot. This was back in 2005, I believe. He spoke on it. He said the album didn't sell a lot, so it's very little money that I get from it. He's like, but the fact is, this is my baby because this was my first album. And Dane was like, this is our album. This is something we did together. And I know he started to kind of have that contentious relationship between them because Jay wanted full ownership of that record. Because this is also something people have to remember, too. Two things, and anybody on YouTube or call in, can correct me if I'm wrong on this, because it gets a little bit more complex. So what happened was the record, contrary to what people may think, because they know Jay as a Def Jam artist, Reasonable Doubt was not released on Def Jam in 1996. It was actually released on Priority through Freeze Records as well. Now, I believe the reissue, because they ran into sample clearances, which is why the record was temporarily pulled off the shelf for about a year and a half, and then that's when it was reissued. I do believe Def Jam may have got it then, or it could have stayed on Priority. I'd have to check it just to be sure. Anyway, but that is a situation where that record was not, like you said, it was tied up between him, Biggs, and Dane, and to this day, and this is how stuff just moves under the ground where we don't know how it happens, because, like I said, you can't even find that now. Like you said, every record from Volume 1 on Now Champ is out there. This one, you can't find anywhere. And
I think you got to subscribe to the title, but I think they have it now on streaming, though. But it came late. It came late on streaming.
Right. But that physical copy, dude, I was looking online at the LPs, actual wax, and the LPs are going for like $500.
The other day I was looking up the Master P Ghetto's Trying to Kill Me, the original, and they wanted $500 on eBay for it. Wow.
Was this the CD, the album, or the cassette?
It was the CD, the original copy, the original copy. Because he re-released it in '97. I think he re-released it, and he had like edits around it. But the original was going for $500 on eBay. I was like, wow. Yeah. So, I guess going back to the Def Jam situation, because when Jay became president in 2005, this was when, of course, Method and, Redman primarily and LL were speaking their grievances about it. But like you said, this goes back further with Warren G going back to 1994 in terms of, and even shout out to South Central Cartel, because they were the first West Coast group, to sign directly to Def Jam. And even with Boss in 1993, because she was through Rush Associated Labels and on Def Jam West. And BG Knockout and Dresta too, right? They were signed to Rush, right?
Rush Associated Labels. But Def Jam at one point was that was like the it crowd. That was like, the pretty girl, the dime piece. That if you got with her, you were on. Everybody noticed. That was like the cool kid. That was like the boss on the block. You team up with his clique, you're in. It's like Def Jam has just been synonymous with hip hop royalty for over 30-some years. But like you said, Champ, the business is not always the best. Give us your perspective on that and how this happens.
You want to know what happened?
just the business and how, like not only with Def Jam, but just how sometimes with the business with labels, it's not always the best. Because you would want to talk more about how with the situation with Warren G and what happened with that.
Yeah, the labels, it's cutthroat, bro. Like, basically, these people getting these advances, and they blow in the advance. They go through the advance, bro. They got to recoup, and it's just like, I feel like when you sign with the label, you're always going to be at a negative, bro. Like, you're never going to get the deal. Look at Kanye. He about a year and a half ago, he was trying to buy back his masters from Def Jam, and they was like, nope.
Yeah,
they didn't even let him want it.
Yeah, he don't even own his catalog. He doesn't even own his catalog.
And he's the biggest rapper in the game, right?
Mm-hmm. That's debatable. Well, that's debatable right now, but yeah, one time he was.
At the time.
You know what I'm saying? At the time, you know what I'm saying? But that goes to show you how cutthroat they are, bro. Like, these people are literally paying these artists pennies, bro, off these streaming services, bro. It's ridiculous. Like, people think they baller blocking off streaming service, and they not. And that's another thing these artists are doing. Don't let them fool you, bro. They keep saying, I'm getting money off the streaming. I'm getting money off the streaming. No, you not. No, you not. Everyone's getting pennies, bro. I'm telling you. It's cutthroat shit going on right now. To me, honestly, I feel like the labels are getting back at the artists and the fans for all the things they lost during the download era, during the Napster Kazaa era, where everybody was going ham downloading albums. They lost so much money in that. Remember in 2006, people were barely going 300,000, 400,000. If you went gold in 2006, it was like, oh shit, you went gold. You went gold in 96, you flopped.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think that's a spiteful issue, and especially even with YouTube, because we know that the big boss, Leo Kohler, he took over the music side of YouTube, so all that YouTube bread that these guys was getting is gone.
Yeah, they was getting money too. They was getting money until Leo came in and put the brakes on everything. You know how that goes. You know how he rides. So. And he didn't even acknowledge who Dame was, and Dame made and put millions in his pocket. And he even wanted to acknowledge him when he did the Breakfast Club interview.
Yeah. And one thing about it, y'all, that I think a lot of artists have to understand is when, we've said this so many times on the show, and we always want to reiterate this point. When you get an advance from a label, that is not your money. That is a loan that they're giving you with the promise that they'll make that money back. Now, if you're lucky, like rest in peace Andre Harrell, who had a label deal back in the day from a business perspective, I think it was with MCA, something happened and they didn't follow through on their end, which turned up being breach of contract, and he ended up getting $11 million for it. But those situations are rare where you can really cash out and you don't have to really owe anybody. But when you look at Birdman once said this when they signed that $30 million deal with Universal back in 1998, and he said, you will never see another deal like the one we got again. And I mean, they made that money back within about a year and a half. And then re-up for another $100 million. But that was the time Cash Money was like, really like you said, Champ. When they came out, they had something new and fresh that was just, Manny Fresh was just like, we never heard nothing like Manny when he came out with it. And Manny had it.
Man, bro, I was I'm a No Limit fan at heart. You can't tell me shit about Master P. I love Master P so much, man. He taught me so much about the independent game, believing on yourself. We talking about a man who done rap, played basketball, pro wrestler, athlete.
He done lived 1,000 hood nigga dreams.
Oh my God, Master P to me is a god in my eye. He did it all. He did it all. What is there else for him to do? But Cash Money too. Cash Money, that sound that they brought, that originality from New Orleans. You know what I'm saying? People, it was so raw and rugged that it was like when NWA came out, but for the South. Like when the Hot Boys came out, you saw that We On Fire video. It's just like you want to be a part of that, bro. You wanted to wear that soldier rag. You wanted to wear them jabos,
Yeah, I always laugh when King said that, like, because we talked about P and everything he did. King just cracked me up one day, and I had to use that. He was like, man, P done that, been a director, daggone ball player, wrestling promoter. Now he pumping food.
Man, putting out news.
Know. Yeah, it's like he done did.
And
he
still
done
being positive, bro.
Yeah.
And still being positive, bro. That's one thing you got to give him, bro. Throughout the message in his music, I think it was like people didn't really hear it, bro. But if you were to hear all his albums, bro, he always had a song for his mom. He always had a song to tell you, yo, don't give up, keep going. Even if he was on some real rugged hood shit, at the end of the song, he'll be like, yo, but you're going to go to jail, this going to happen, da, da, da. Like, you always had a message in his music. I feel like Master P is very underrated. Very, very underrated. But
you
that's
know,
just me. That's just me.
Well, it's funny because when he really started to get his, and shout out to, of course, Crazy, and shout out to, Mr. Servon, who we've had on the show.
One of our biggest interviews. I want to salute those guys right now for getting us that extra clout, man. We want to salute those guys.
Yeah.
Thank the No Limit Chronicles. Y'all really boosted my numbers.
Because we did it before they did it. But they would tell us the stories. And, one thing about it, people got to understand about P is that P was an individual who, and I'm going to ask you a second about all the stuff that's going on right now with him and your opinion of that. But when you look at what P was doing, especially in, the mid-'90s, especially when Double XL and the store started, getting on it, and Vibe, who started interviewing him, and P talked about it, of course, him being in Richmond, California, which by itself is, to survive out in Richmond, that's serious. Shout out to Doug Young from the Bay, who's been all over from San Fran to Oakland to Richmond. Doug has some
Shout
stories.
out to the Bay, yo.
Yeah, but for P to do what he did with his record store, to really blow it up and then to bring it back to Louisiana and really, and P said that everything that he had in terms of the cars, the house, the jewelry, all of that's paid for. He's like, I don't owe nobody nothing. He's like, and if I go broke, I'll sell all of this and start all over again. He's a consummate hustler in terms of making it. And it's just wild, man, to see. Of course, we interviewed Reginelli as well, who would tell us stories about what was going on in No Limit during those days. The situation of what you've seen right now between the No Limit Chronicles and how a lot of this unfortunate other stuff coming up with P right now, stuff being said about him. How do you feel about the criticism that he's gotten as well as the accolades that he achieved throughout his career?
You got to understand, P's heartbroken, bro. He's been fighting for over 20 years to get his brother out. This is not a friend. This is not someone you met at the store. This is his brother right now who's facing basically that he might spend the rest of his life in jail. P, as a fan, I could tell P's devastated, straight up. And I think people should stay out of it, and I think it's family business. You never want to get involved with. You have a friend and he's going through something with their family, you don't want to get too involved. You want to just give your little advice, which is hopefully is good advice, keep it pushing. You don't want to get too much involved in that family stuff. But P's definitely devastated, and I know he got love for his brother, man. You got to understand, man, they came from the Calio. They didn't really have much, and P made something out of himself when people were telling him, oh, you're not going to do it, you're not going to be nothing. And look what P did. P went from the Calio to marble floors, bro. So he's probably looking at C like, damn, bro, like, I gave you everything. You was a millionaire, and you still wanted to go back to that. But, eventually, they going to do their thing. They going to come back together because they brothers. And, brothers, we argue, we fight with each other. At the end of the day, we back at it. And the day will come when C will be free, man. Straight up. I think he's innocent. I think he was always innocent. And I think the only thing that was always hurting him was just his name, that people would always want to use that against him. But if you really was a C Murder fan and you pay attention to him, C Murder was always chilling, bro. C Murder just wanted to make his music, ride with his homies, smoke, chill, and that's it.
Right. And that gives another question we wanted to ask you, Champ. So many artists, because like you said, where does the line come between being an artist and then actually living out you're actually living out your life. Because we see a lot of rappers who sometimes get too much caught up in the street life, or they're not street at all and they're trying to live that life.
Well, one thing I always preach, bro. One thing I always preach, bro, is to always be yourself, man. Straight up, because people will see through that shit, bro. You faking the funk too much, and everything always comes to light, man. Everything always comes to light. You got to be yourself. I think that's very important. Very important.
Mhm.
That's a fact, man. Now, switching gears for a minute and, talking about the projects that you have going on, like Spooky Kids and Space Age Chimp, like, what were the total motivations behind those projects and how do they differentiate?
Well, Space Age Chimp is more of a compilation type of record. That's just showcasing what I've been doing on the mixtape scene since 2015. I've been releasing a mixtape every month up to now. So that was more of a compilation record. Spooky Kids was more of a debut independent project, more cohesive, very cohesive sound. That's why I only gave you guys 12 tracks, because, in this day and era, you look at an album, 24 songs, it's like, whoa, I don't know if I could listen to all that. But, I wanted to keep it very short, get my point across, and give you something that's very cohesive sound.
Definitely. And what's a writing session for you like in terms of when you really sit back and just put it together? Like, well, not a write. Well, you already said you freestyle. What's the session like in terms of just the vibe, in terms of how you really, conceptualize your project together and decide which way you want to go with it?
Well, usually I hear the song already in my head when I play the beat. So usually I start off with the hook process, which I feel is very important. And, when you're making a song, that's very important. Song structure is always make sure you have the hook game correct. That's the important part of the record, and that's the part of the record where people are going to hear over 3-4 times. So you got to have that on point. You got to make that correct. And then after that, the verses start flowing after that. As soon as I get the hook game going, the verses just come to me automatically. It's literally like I'm talking on just having a conversation with you. Like on a Slick Rick type of vibe, Something laid back.
Definitely.
My music isn't too complicated, My type of vibe is just sit back, light one up, and just chill. You know what I'm saying? Just enjoy the music. There's nothing really complicated with my style, man. I feel like my style anybody could adapt to it because it's not really too complicated. It's just good music, good production. I'm very, very big on my production. There's a lot of rappers that make lyrically top 5, they're lyrical juggernauts, but when they choose beats, it's like, whoa, why are you rapping on this, bro?
Now, do you think a lot of times with hip-hop, it's because because Nas has had this criticism, Rapcast has had this criticism, which are two of my favorite MCs ever, by the way. Soul on Ice by Rapcast, 1996, is one of the most unbelievable lyrical conceptions that I have ever heard in my life. But Rap's always got my line because everybody would talk about his beats on the record, which a lot of them I thought were dope. But Rap said everybody missed the point. The beats were not about, it was not about the beats, it was about what I was saying. And from that perspective, I think sometimes we get too critical in the culture of trying to feel like everything has to be commercially viable or has to make us dance, where a lot of times some of the music is really just for us to think about it. Like you said, it shouldn't be too complex. From your end, and then from other ends, it's like, it's something that really artists got something to say, and we should be listening to it. Like I look at artists like MF Doom, who is one of the mad geniuses ever in hip hop. He's in my top 10. But Doom is a very unique artist that I tell anyone, if you're not ready for that type of abstract, skill-driven, hip-hop, Doom is going to be alien for a lot of y'all niggas. Because Doom is just, like I said, Doom is just unbelievable to me.
I mean,
all those guys.
Look at, for example, look at Doom. Doom is, I agree with you, Doom is a sick artist. He's not commercially big, but Doom could go to Europe and pack out a show. Doom could go to Barcelona, shut shit down like he's a god. You know what I'm saying? Because he has that fan base. He took that independent mind state, bro, and he adapted to it. And those are the artists that win at the end of the day, bro.
Yeah, and for those that don't think Doom really has it like that, a friend of ours, he does he has his own has his own business. Him and his people were going to offer Doom $50,000 to perform, and Doom said no.
Wow. Because he's somewhere
Doom,
chilling. He's chilling.
Yeah, that's what when me and him were talking about it. It was like, we won't say his name, but it's like, but he's a very good friend of ours, but so when we were talking about it, it was like, it's like, he's like, what type of paper does Doom have that he can just say 50,000, I'm good? Because people forget that Doom produces too, and it's like, but Doom is like, you got to think Doom's money is long.
Oh, definitely.
Yeah.
He definitely could lay back in the cut for 5 years and be chilling. I'm pretty sure he's good, but he kept it independent. You know what I'm saying? He kept it small, and at the end of the day, he ended up winning. But Doom is hip hop royalty. That's hip hop treasure also. You know what I'm saying? Him and Dilla, definitely got to put Dilla up there.
Yeah. But when you look at it, when you're looking at reinventing in terms of what he did, and then also just with a lot of artists in terms of how they end up, because of course he started with KMD, of course there's Zev Love X with his brother Sub Rock. Of course his brother was tragically killed, and he went into a depressive state, but then reemerged as Doom, and I'm seeing, of course, with Jay Dilla. Donuts. What he did with Slum Village.
Yeah.
These are guys. Why do you think these individuals do not necessarily get hardcore hip hop heads? I don't like saying real because real is a subjective term and it's opinionated. But why do you think a lot of times for guys like Doom, Jay Dilla, Ghostface, Premier, for a lot of the younger generation, why are these guys not as revered? Where's the lack of knowledge and understanding the contributions that these legends have made to the culture? Why do you think some of the young heads out there really don't know about these guys and respect them as such?
Well, they grew up in that era, bro, where they were snapping. That's one of them. That's one of the things.
Right.
A lot of these kids that we refer to as kids now, they were born in 2001, 2002. When they got a sense of hip hop, it wasn't the hip hop that me and you grew up on. You know what I'm saying? So that's why they don't really have that knowledge of a DJ Premier or a Pete Rock, a Dilla, But don't be surprised though. A lot of them do. A lot of them, the ones that go back and they research, they do their thing. I'm not gonna front. A lot of them go back and do their research. The ones that are curious to know, but it's just everyone's right now is under hypnosis. You know what I'm saying? Like the sound, everything with the sound right now is just the same. Like my question is to you guys is like, we're going through a pandemic right now. Why are these artists still making club records? Ain't nobody going to the club, bro. You should be making conscious music right now to uplift these people that are going through some really bad times right now. That's my whole thing. We get back to the club stuff later, but I think these artists right now should be sending more of a message, a more positive message than what they're doing now.
Well, for one, I think that they don't really have the aptitude to really be concrete and be creative with their storytelling or what they put on wax. Like, they only got signed and know off of one lane of music. So to make them go in there and really put out something thought-provoking, that's a challenge within their pen game. And plus, you can also say they just can't get their ghostwriter. Their ghostwriter just ain't picking up the phone.
That's another thing that's crazy about hip-hop, too, is the fact that we let that slide. That should have never been let slide, yo. Like, if you don't write your music, I mean, there was exceptions. You have Puffy, he didn't write. The producers, Dre. I mean, I always knew Ye didn't write because if you go back and do research, you would know that Rhymefest wrote Jesus Walks. He got a Grammy for it and everything, and Consequence was writing his stuff also. Even till now, he'll go on and admit that he don't write his own stuff. But I think that I think that's very important to write your own things, bro. Eventually, everything will come to light and you will be caught. And I don't think people will look at you as a real musician when they find out that what you was giving them, the product you was giving them, was not even coming from your soul.
Yeah, hip-hop is such an intimate art, and I think that's why we hold a lot of the artists so accountable because, it's just something that, like you said, it should be from the heart and it should be from your experience of what you, what you bring to the, what you bring to it. You know what I'm saying? And from that end of it, when we had Cassidy on the show a couple months ago, Cassidy, said that during this time of the pandemic, artists should be sharpening their bars. He's like, you have no excuse for not making good music when all you have is time to sit in the house and really sharpen your skills. And one thing about it is, when you look at hip-hop, it's about making things no matter what age you are, because you can still be viable. King will tell you, I'm a serious Griselda stan. And to see what those guys have done putting out product, Benny, Westside, Conway, of course, I got to shout out all the affiliates, City Boy, who runs Benny's label, Keisha Plum, the poet villain goddess, Armani Caesar, Rick Hyde. That whole crew is killing it right now.
Shout out to them, man.
Yeah, Buffalo Kids, man, they are like doing it, and but they, when Westside, now it was Conway, when he did that joint a couple months ago, Front Lines, which was an activist song, I was like, this is the type of hip hop we need to be hearing right now.
Oh, definitely. I feel like that whole movement is like the 2020s clips, like street drug rap, but with a message, like sprinkle with a little bit of Raekwon on it. You know what I'm saying? Just like it's just gritty, it's gutter, it's giving you that throwback New York sound, but it's still polished for what's going on today.
Yeah, and I think that's why music like yours and theirs is so essential to the culture, because it's a throwback to a time where skills were what was important. It wasn't about, having a big cosign in terms of, it was about really letting your skills speak for themselves and letting, the audience find you and you find your audience. And there was a perfect marriage of respect and adoration on both sides of it, and the one thing about it is when you look at the culture, classic records, Jay-Z's Reasonable Doubt, Nas' Illmatic, The Great Adventures of Slick Rick, Dr. Dre's The Chronic, Luda's Red Light District, Jeezy's, like I said, 101, Rick Ross's Port of Miami. These are albums, T.I.'s Urban Legend. These are all albums that transcend, the periods in which they were released and become staples that are conversational pieces about what made them so necessary, for what was going on. And I think a lot of these artists have to understand, you just can't, if you're really going to have a career with this, article by Torre that I read 4 years ago. Shout out to Torre, one half the Barrel Brothers with Sky Zoo. And Torre, talked about how, through his independent grind, he has been able to, really, really maintain. Of course, I read an article by Fonte, little brother, and Fonte said something that was just so poignant. He said, you want to make music at 22 that you don't feel ashamed listening to at 32. Because 30 years travel fast.
Totally agree.
Yeah. And you just want to make stuff that's for like, some people say I'm hating Tekashi, get the strap. Are we really gonna remember that shit 10 years from now? I mean,
we're gonna remember the clown. We're gonna remember the clown shit. You're gonna remember the clown shit, but you're not gonna remember any of them songs. You know what I'm saying? I mean, even look at his shit. His songs don't even hit the same no more. Now that you found out the truth about him, it's like, I don't really believe you when you say that now. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's how I felt like, fuck it, I'm going to say, that's how I felt like with Drake. You know what I'm saying? Like, I was a Drake fucking fan, you know what I'm saying? And then when I found out he didn't write, that shit was like, broke my heart. Like, whoa, hold on.
Dang, this was like lighter camps.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? That shit is just crazy, bro. That's like hearing one day that, like, Pac didn't write Cali Love. It was really someone else. Like, what? That would be devastating.
And the cold part about it is they was putting Drake in that category of, being the top elite MCs of the era next to Cole, Kendrick, and who else was around that time? But I would say probably those two. But since these accusations came out, go ahead.
The crazy stuff is that people still put him in the top 3. And I'm like, why? He don't write his own music. Oh, that doesn't matter. See, the message is that's the message is getting filled out to the world right now. It's like, oh, that don't matter no more. He don't write his own shit. I heard people tell me like, oh, well, Beyonce don't write her own shit. I'm like, well, that's R&B, bro. Like, it's different.
She can actually sing her songs, and Beyonce does write songs. She actually does. And
she does write.
And Beyonce performance. And her performances alone, people don't really pay attention to the songwriting, but the performances.
Oh, I've heard people tell me like, yo, even if you don't like rap, even if you don't like R&B or the kind of music Beyonce does, when you leave her show, you will be a fan.
Man, look, I tell you one thing about Queen B, they say, because I think they said for that Super Bowl performance that she had last year, a couple of years ago, and that was I think like a 15, 20-minute performance, and they said she rehearsed for I think 6 months before she rehearsed that, they rehearsed that whole routine for 6 months for a 30-minute routine. Think about that. A 30-minute routine, and she rehearsed 6 months for it.
Nah, she's very dedicated to her craft. That's one thing I give it to her as an artist. She's very, very, very dedicated to her craft, and I think that's why her and Jay were able to stick with each other for so long, because they're very dedicated people to what they do, and I think that just meshed well with them. They were two big artists in their own little lanes. They came together, and they became the biggest thing in the world. Shout out to Beyonce and Jay, man.
Yeah, I'll tell you one thing, though. You have some people try to throw shade on her, saying that she really don't deserve it. Ask Carrie Hilson how that went for her.
Word up. Yeah, Carrie Hilson is definitely in the milk box. She's in the milk carton, man. She's missing somewhere.
She came for fee, and I was like, and Carrie was talented, but I'm like, I would have told Miss Carrie, baby, no, you don't need to do that. I'm like,
yeah, she got carried away with that one.
Yeah. Just throughout your journeys in terms of who you worked with, and as you still progressed in your sojourns, who would you really like to work with as you go along in your career?
Oh man, that's a very good question. Right now at this moment, I'm just trying to benefit myself as much as I can, but who to work with? I can't say right now. I'm not really feeling people like that right now. You know what I'm saying? Like,
understood. So what do people really have to understand about?
I would love to be in a session with Dre though, like just to watch.
Right. Yes, I feel you on that. So in terms of, so what do people have to understand about when you're going to make this a career in terms of doing music? What do a lot of the young kids really have to understand about it?
Well, I think they're going to have to understand, though, that, not everything is promised. You got to take your career in your own destiny in your own hands. And you can't be putting your dreams in other people's hands. That's one thing I noticed with a lot of upcoming artists is they'll be like, well, so-and-so told me that he knows blah, 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 and so-and-so got the studio. I feel like, bro, you could get your own studio, you know what I'm saying? You got a lot of people that are just scamming people. That's another thing people are doing now. They're just scamming people online, giving people false hope, false dreams, and they don't know what's going on in the game. But that's their fault also, because you got a lot of people that want to be rappers that ain't fans. You know, they're not fans of the culture. They just want to be a star. Everybody wants to be a star. And that's why I told you guys before that real musicians will be tested. You know, you might get a pass on the first, second album. By the third album, they're going to really see if you're here to stay.
Right.
Hey, guys, check this out. Check this out. I just got some real bad and shocking news here.
Oh, shit. What's wrong?
It said that Chadwick Boseman from the Black Panthers passed away.
What?
No. What?
What?
No way, yo.
Oh, man.
It said after a 4-year fight with colon cancer.
And nobody knew.
The fuck?
Oh, my God.
Nobody knew that, though. Yo, this is not a good week, man. It's not a good week, man.
Oh, man. Oh, man. He's gone to that big Wakanda in the sky. Oh, my goodness. I didn't know.
Me either.
Damn, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Did any of us know that?
I mean, a couple months ago, I saw him looking a bit frail because I was thinking maybe he's just, doing weight for a movie or something. But I ain't know what it is.
Right.
Our prayers up for his family.
Crazy.
Man, prayers up for the family, man. Rest in peace, Chadwick, man. I mean, and I think this is something that we have to understand, whether movies, music, whatever. Chimp, how important is it for us to cherish our legends while they're still here and give them their bouquet, letting them know we appreciate them for everything that they've done for their contribution?
I mean, that's very important, man. You always got to give props and shouts out, man, to the people that laid the foundation, man. And that's another problem that we have right now, you know what I'm saying, that people don't really acknowledge the people that started things, you know what I'm saying. You don't got people giving props where props is due, but we definitely got to acknowledge our legends out here. Speaking of a legend, man, I have one of my close friends pass away this week, actually, you know what I'm saying. I want to dedicate this interview I'm doing with you guys in memory of him, I want to dedicate this interview. Thank you. I want to dedicate this interview, man, to SP. You know what I'm saying? Brother of mine, he always believed in my music, and I want to keep his memory alive going. So I want to give a shout out to him, man. But we definitely got to keep legends. You know what I'm saying? You got to keep them in mind. You know what I'm saying? You got to give them their props, their praises, because they're the ones that paved the way, man.
Yeah, and one thing about it is, man, that shit, I'm still fucked up about Chadwick, man. But
for real.
And he was just in the movie with Spike Lee, though, for the Five Bloods.
Yeah.
I was watching that the other day, man. I haven't finished watching. Now I'm gonna finish watching it, bro. But I was feeling him on James Brown. He killed that role in James Brown. He should have got an Oscar for that.
On up. Yeah, get on up.
Oh my God, bro, he killed that shit, yo.
42 when he did Jackie Robinson. You know what I'm saying?
He was on his way to being the next Denzel. He was on his way.
Him and Michael B. Jordan, I think they're the ones, a lot of people said, when you look at it, those were the two that were, like, really going to be the next up. They were really, we loved Denzel, but Denzel
Chad really had that. Chad really had that it. He had that it.
Yeah. And it's one thing about it, man, when we look at Black Hollywood, we see so much of a transition from what it was. We look at the legends. We look at Chadwick.
Black Panther.
We've seen Denzel. We've seen Denzel, we've seen Michael B. Jordan, we've seen Kevin Hart, we've seen Martin, we've seen Will. How important is it for us to keep ourselves in the business of really just making sure that we are laying down the foundation for the next generation to follow in terms of the roles and our depictions, the black experience on film as well as music. What do we do to ensure laying the foundation to make sure that the ones coming behind us are understanding of the weight, the responsibility, the commitment, and the camaraderie that is necessary in order to carrying on tradition?
Well, I think ownership is a very big, important piece of the pie. You know what I'm saying? We gotta start being owners, bro. We gotta stop renting and leasing and all that. We gotta own what we do. That's very, very, very important. You know what I'm saying? And that way we could show the youth, you know what I'm saying, to not get muscled out here by these Hollywood agents or record labels. Ownership is a very important key, you know. But
you know what's crazy about that too? I'm trying to get my poetry together. That reminds me of actually we're trying to keep everything on board with the show, man. That was just some shocking news right there. But
definitely.
But that goes to show you, even with people, when it comes to ownership, I think we get blinded with the cash up front. That's why I've seen it happen with a lot of people. Like, they'll give up what they own just to cash out. And sometimes it's good because you could build something better, but in situations like we've seen with No ID, he giving up all his publishing, and you seeing RZA, he giving 50% of his publishing. I'm hoping you guys got a $1 billion deal in the waking, because when you give up ownership, that's future revenue, like lifetime revenue.
I own all my masters. That's one thing. I could raise my hand. As little of the artist you might look at me, or if you want to hate on me or whatever the case may be, I could raise my hand and say I own my shit. You know what I'm saying? I don't report to anybody, and my shit is in my hands. So I think that's very important, you know what I'm saying? That ownership.
You know, Champ, and that's real because, you know, when you look at it, we've seen so many situations. We're just talking about how Kanye doesn't own his masters. Jay-Z, with what he's doing with Live Nation right now, basically that's kind of like they're paying him and they own his masters as collateral. I think after 10 years, and I think he's nearing the end of that deal, I believe. If I got my facts right, he gets his masters back. But I believe it was somewhere between $75 and $100 million that they gave him, because that's who basically handles his business now. But, you know, Jay-Z, I'll put it like this, he's got it on hold right now for who has it. I mean, you look at the situations with a lot of these artists, but you find out these horror stories about how they don't own their music. And that's, you know, I mean, we look at the situation happened with No ID a couple of years ago. Recently, a couple of weeks ago, when we found out that No ID sold his. It sold all of his publishing, you know, in terms of like over 200 some songs that he did throughout his career. And I was like, dude, what's going on? I'm like, from the business side, though, what happens with this? Do you think of some? I mean, what usually leads these type of situations to happen?
A lot of artists is hungry, man. You know what I'm saying? You want to get out of your situation, you know. Somebody's slinging, you know, the little keys to the Mercedes. Hey, bro, this could be yours if you sign on the dotted line, as opposed to us eating fucking sandwiches from the store. You know what I'm saying? Having to go get a sandwich. You know what I'm saying? Telling people your rap dreams and shit. People get hungry, bro. People just looking for any outlet they could take to get in the game or get a quick buck. You know what I'm saying? But that's why, people hate on him and everything, but you got to give props to Suge, straight up. Because even though people like to throw him under the bus, I was always feeling that thing that he changed the game up. Because, I mean, he was kind of right, bro. When he was coming up, a lot of them shits was, Chuck Berry numbers. People was getting screwed out of their deals. I mean, he did what he did, but you got to give him props, though, bro, because what he did in 92 paved the way for what's going on in 2020. Rappers now can eat. even though they eating minimal, they still eating compared to what it was, the game was in the early 90s, late 80s. You know what I'm saying? So you got to give him props for that, for opening that door. The way he did it, it is what it is, but you got to give him props, bro, because, you know, if it wasn't for a Suge, you wouldn't have a P, you wouldn't have a Puffy, you wouldn't have a Birdman, you know what I'm saying? You wouldn't have my man that owns TDE, Top
Anthony Tiffler. Anthony Tiffler.
You know what I'm saying? So, you know, everything paves a way, bro. Every door opens another door, you know.
Yeah, you know, and it's crazy because, and I know some people would kind of get a little, you know, would kind of blink the side eye of this, but even Jerry Heller, you know, rest in peace, he talked about it in an interview one time about, you know, with Jackie Wilson and about how a lot of those mafia guys would shake down a lot of those black entertainers. And Jerry said, the only reason I can say this now is because they're all dead. He's like, but when you hear stuff like, you know, all those guys getting hung over balconies and getting shaken down for their money by Nat Turnbull, some other dudes, some of those mafia guys, he was like, that really happened. A lot of those, you know, musicians were getting, you know, their money stolen from them. You know, and
yeah. I mean, that's the worst, bro. I feel like the people that do that are paying with your livelihood because that's your art being transcended to the people, and it's like you're taking my emotions and making money off of it, and I'm not even recouping, bro. It's like, it's ridiculous, you know. It's sad, actually, bro, when you hear about these people that actually had a nice little 3 to 4 year run in the rap game or just in the entertainment business, period, and then when you look at them now, it's because, oh, no, I signed a bad contract, oh, I didn't own this, I didn't own that. So ownership, bro, is very important, man. And I always like to, you know, drill that in people's heads, though, bro, because I feel like, yo, you could do this, bro. We all could do whatever we want. We put our minds to it. You know what I'm saying? Nobody's better than anybody else. You know what I'm saying? The next dude don't know. You might know a little bit more, though, but at the end of the day, we all human. You know what I'm saying? We could learn this, bro. You know, we could learn this and we could take over the game. It's just, if you really look at the story of hip-hop, it's crazy how it started in the palm of our hands, Latino and blacks coming together making hip-hop, and then look where it is now, bro. Like, now you got all these, like, executives who are not even from the communities, not even from the streets, and they're the ones telling you, nah, bro, that song isn't hot. Are you serious, bro? Like, yeah, these people don't even know what's going on in the streets, bro. By the time they think a song is hot, it's not even the hottest song anymore. You know what I'm saying? They take too long to play catch-up.
Yeah, you know, and that's real, Champ, what you were saying, because, you know, you're definitely worthy of the name. You know, because you have the pedigree on the philosophy of it. And a lot of times when you're dealing with a business, and we have to, or the business of music, because it's 90% business and 10% music, that's real. Because when you're dealing with how a lot of these decisions are made, budget, people, King used to write and still does, you know, has his journalism background is excellent, and King studied a lot of this stuff, and he'll tell you, especially with me being a lifelong hip-hop nerd, we've seen these situations with records in terms of how this stuff happens where, you know, a record doesn't always come out on its scheduled, or it doesn't come out at all. You know, there's budgets, there's the testing in terms of putting the song out to see if the song is actually going to really hit the street hard, you know what I mean? And then, okay, where are we going to start this touring dates, you know, the publicity, the promo. It's like, it's people think it's just straight line, and it's not as straight line as people think it is.
Not at all. It's very shysty, very cutthroat. You know, you gotta come in this game having knowledge, bro. Like, that's another thing I'm saying. Like, a lot of these people, like, are you really a musician, bro, or you just want to be famous? And then when you really ask them that, you can see the light bulb goes in their head, like, oh, well, you know, I want to be famous. So it's just crazy.
Yeah, they just want
bro.
the attention. They just want the attention, the Instagram attention. They don't really want the accolades, though. Right.
They don't want to put the work in, you know. And then a lot of 97% of this game is the work.
Now, one thing about it is how do artists have to really understand things from a level of there's a difference between internet popularity and real popularity, because we see so many talk about, man, they hating on me, they don't want to see me win, but I'm like, and I won't mention names for artists from all over I've seen, but I see artists, who got like 58,000 followers on IG and don't have and can't even sell a show out in their area, but will swear they're the hottest artist. But then when nobody come out, they say, "Oh, everybody hating." I'm like, there's a difference between a dude that really, really has a major buzz and they're really bubbling. Because I've always said this: depending on where you're from, that market is either going to be big for you or it's not going to be enough for you to get out of, in terms of you got to get out of that market and really expand. Do you think sometimes artists get too much in their feelings about thinking how big they are?
Yeah, definitely, bro. They get caught up in the moment, bro. That's why a lot of the New York rappers that we remember from like the mid-2000s, early 2000s, I mean, look, they basically got their weed money and their chain money, and they was like, "Oh, I'm good. That's why a lot of them only got 1 or 2 albums out. You know what I'm saying? Like, they didn't want to put the work in. They didn't want to make the sacrifices. They got starstruck in the moment where a couple cats recognized you in the store, or you got stopped on the block one time. And, hey, I recognize you from so and so, and to them that was enough. They don't want to take it to the next level. You know what I'm saying? Like a Jay, like a real businessman beyond music. Or like a Dre,
Yeah. Yeah, and that's wild, man, because a lot of times people got to understand this, it's more than, like you said, just trying to be famous. And I think that's where the game has kind of got diluted, because everybody has this notion of celebrity and looking at the culture as this disposable vehicle of how they're going to attain fame. And I'm like, this music means too much to everybody from all colors and cultures, black, white, Hispanic, Asian, everybody, for you to just treat this as a passing, what's the word I'm looking for, interest. But unfortunately, you got a lot of people, that's what they do. They just look at it as how they can get famous and don't really commit themselves to it, and that's just what it is.
That's why they're here today and gone tomorrow, bro. I mean, a lot of the times the fans can see when you put in out bullshit, or you just want, they can see through that shit. The thing is with the fans, bro, is they like building people up, but at the same time they like bringing you down. Like once you get to that certain level, when you get hot, they want to see your downfall after that, and that's why you gotta do the 360. Like Biggie said, they love you today, and tomorrow they gonna hate you, and after that it's back to the love, bro. But you gotta be able to carry that. That's how you keep your consistency going, bro. You just gotta keep relevant and keep hot. But at the same token, don't forget where you came from.
Yeah.
Yeah, because everybody's fickle these days.
Yeah, everybody want to be an IG star, bro. Everybody want to be that celebrity on Instagram. For the right or wrong.
Yeah, and one thing about it, man, we've seen a lot of situations where shenanigans get people caught up, because I've always been a believer that for who you are, for what you do, like you said, the real you is always going to shine through, and you can't fake who you really are as a person from that perspective. And it's important that you maintain that level of honesty with yourself, because if you can't be honest with yourself, how can you be honest to your fans?
Exactly. But you got to be careful too, though, bro, because a lot of these artists, they tend to be things that they're not. There's an old saying where they say, be careful when you meet your heroes. There's a lot of that in the rap game. A lot of people we think that are the toughest rappers, they the softest rappers. And a lot of the rappers that we think are the softest rappers are actually the ones that get it in. A lot of people used to sleep on Hammer, and now you hear stories now about Hammer. It's like, yo, I didn't know you was about all that, bro. But shout out to Hammer, though, bro.
Man, Lil Hammer from Oakland. I know Redman did a YouTube video where he talked about when he dissed Hammer on his first album. He made that joke about Hammer, and Hammer and them ran up on him about it, and they had a little discussion, and Red realized that, like Hammer was to a degree really with the shit.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, bro. You know you never know. You never know it, especially in the rap game, bro. You never know, man.
Yeah, but that's something where that's, and shout out to the Bay Area, man. Shout out to Oakland, man. That's it's they be getting biz out there, but a lot of people really got to understand it from that level. That like you said, you don't always have to really get out there and brag about how bad you are, because depending where you're from in the streets, your reputation is already solidified. West Side Gun, Conway, Benny. You don't hear nothing out of Buffalo about them lying ever.
Facts.
Cormega. Shout out to Cormega out in QB. You don't never hear nothing. Nobody ever talk about Cormega saying he phony.
I'm a Cormega fan, bro. Like, I've been listening to Cormega since I was in 7th grade. Cormega is underrated MC. He got like 3 classic albums. Shout out to Cormega, and shout out to that song he got on the new Nas joint, bro. That song is tough. I like that they kept the new Nas joint with the Firm. They kept it old school, like they got that old vibe, but it's still relevant to what's going on today.
And it's really beautiful because they squashed their issues years ago, but it's really beautiful to see that as the years went by, they really were able to kind of put their issues behind them, because at the end of the day, man, as we saw with Chadwick, we never know when things are going to happen when people end up going, and
life
you can make
crazy,
things,
man.
Yeah, when you can make things right with somebody in terms of, really settling things in the right way of really, at least having some kind of a resolve in a positive way. That's beautiful, man. I mean, it lets you know that in the bigger picture, for those, the story as well as we do, the situation happening years ago about how they had that falling out with the Firm, Steve Stout and all that. But to see that they were able to work that out in the end and come back and squash that, it was good, man, because at the end of the day, it's like y'all from the same hood, y'all both are legends. Y'all both are dope at what y'all do, and
definitely dope.
Grown men can work it out. That's the definition of, being a grown man and being mature about a situation.
Oh yeah, definitely. I agree with you 1,000% on that. It's always good to be the bigger man, bro. Shout out to Taxstone. He always said this on his podcast. He was like, "Yo, pride will take your ride, bro." Like, that's the realest shit I ever heard, bro. A lot of these people that be fucking up in the street or just in general, just life situations, bro. Pride is a big thing, bro. That'll take advantage of us and it'll lead to our downfall, bro. We gotta learn how to control that shit and just use that anger and everything we have that we feel at a moment, bro, and use that to benefit us, bro, because pride will take your ride, bro. It's always a good thing to be the bigger man.
Yeah. Yeah. We got a little bit of time left too, Champ. I want to ask you this while we're
I had
on
to come
subject.
back and take care. My apologies, guys. I had to take care of something. A lot of
you good.
A lot of phone calls been blowing up, man. They've been asking me about what's been going on with Chadwick and everything. I'm like, yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Raise up,
man. We got a little bit of time with you, Champ. I wanted to ask you this. What is your opinion of a lot of these artists out here trying to pick a lot of these frivolous beasts, and they're really vegan and ain't ready to really get led to the slaughter if they get led to the slaughterhouse? Because it seems like you got a lot of these rappers really getting, and they acting like they're just so offended by a slight or a perceived slight, or they just want to start telling duck tales, as Uncle Tash and the Alcoholics would say, just trying to get stuff started. Where do we go with the rap academics as opposed to the theatrics? How do we stop the foolishness of this?
Bro, I don't participate in any of that, bro. You'll never. It has to be. You gotta come at me in some kind of way for me to come at you with a record going at you. But recently, I heard that Little B. I don't know if y'all familiar with Little B. I heard he had a record coming at me, but I'm not engaging with that. I don't. Rap beefs is just not. It's not the thing anymore. You know what I'm saying? It had its moment, and it's just some whack shit now. You know what I'm saying? Now we want to hear records now, bro. Ain't nobody trying to hear no beef records, bro. And you got grown men yelling on the phone on IG to each other. They never gonna see each other. It's crazy, bro. You know what's crazy? That we live in a world now where the females get it in more than the dudes. I see chicks pop off more now than I see dudes popping off, bro. And I'm like, what?
Yeah, the city girls be getting it going on, man. Shoot, Cardi and Nicki Minaj is about to scrap out there at the daggone award ceremony.
Cardi B was
throwing shoes and the whole thing.
Man, look.
Cardi B would tear heads off. She's from the Bronx, bro. She ain't playing, bro. You know what I'm saying? Yo, these chicks out here, bro, it ain't a game. You gotta be very polite to these chicks, bro. They will smack koofies off, bro. Straight up. Like, they ain't playing out here, bro. But shout out to the females, shout out to all the Bronx chicks.
Look, BX, Washington Heights, where Cardi from, we love y'all. And you know, one thing about it, with Young Miami and the City Girls, you know, we laughing and we joking, but we're dead serious too. Because you gotta remember too, last year, you know, bitches tried to kill, you know, Young Miami. I mean, the girl was pregnant and they did a damn drive-by on her. They ran up on a Mercedes truck and tried to kill her. I mean, it's real out there. Yeah, they rolled up on the truck, tried to kill her.
There's a lot of anger out right now, bro. Just recently this weekend, it was like 8 shootings here in New York, bro. Like, you gotta understand, people is looking for answers. Man. People is hungry.
Brooklyn,
Everybody's going through their situations right now. Shit is hard right now, man. You know, and we don't got the answers that we need.
Yeah, Brooklyn, the Bronx has been. It's I just keep reading, and I'm like, man, I'm like, yo, it's. Whew, I mean, it's going back to them New York days, and
yo, you telling me, man? I'm in the Bronx right now, bro. Right now, I'm not scared to say it. Right now, I'm scribbling my notepad, witnessing from my folks' pad, bro. Like, right now, the atmosphere outside is not good, bro. You could feel a lot of anger out right now, you know.
Yeah, man. But look, we got to give shout out to you, of course, in the Bronx. We got to give out shouts to some of the other legends out there. You know, Pistol Pete, S&M. We got to give a shout out to Remy Joe La Puebla. We got to give a shout out to, you know, Fat Joe and all the crew. You know what I'm saying? TSKR, my girl Amaretta. We got to give her a shout out. I mean, you know, y'all got it going in the Bronx and Brooklyn, man. I mean, it's like, yo, it's so many legends, man. How does it feel to be carrying on that tradition, you know, from the Bronx, from the BX, man?
I mean, I'm just trying to stay humble, bro. Just stay humble and be in my own lane, bro. I feel like that's the best thing I could do, man. It's an honor for me to be out here, man, make my music, you know, get that atmosphere going. That's what keeps my tracks going, keeps my flow going. You know what I'm saying? You know, the Bronx is a good place, bro. It got a lot of love at the same time. You know, people like doing it under the bus, but, you know, Bronx is still one of the last real places of New York. You know what I'm saying? A lot of this shit got regentrified, fucked up, you know what I'm saying? But the Bronx is still the Bronx.
And look, of course, KRS, man, and we can't forget, you know, of course, we can't forget, yeah, man. Can't forget, you know, 1520 Sedgwick Ave, you know, DJ Kool Herc. That's where hip-hop was born. You know, we can't forget French Montana. You know, we got, you know, I mean, y'all have represented, y'all really are where it all started at. You know what I'm saying? And, I mean, you know, from 141st and Cypress all the way to Soundview. You know what I'm saying? Y'all keep it cooking, man.
Yeah, we got to, bro. We got to keep that hip hop flow going, man. Like you said, bro, it started here, bro. And you could feel that essence when you come out here, bro. You can feel that hip hop essence when you in the Bronx, when you uptown. Period, bro. I love being uptown. I love living uptown, bro. The vibe out here is just amazing. Making my music out here, bro, and just getting that feel of the people and laying it on wax and on the track.